But soon, Japan's disaster could, of course, boost the country's demand for oil and gas as it imports fossil fuels to make up for lost nuclear capacity. Well, 11 nuclear reactors remain shut after last Friday's earthquake. That's nearly half of its entire atomic output. Now, the only alternatives are oil, gas, and coal-fired plants. They may also have to import more processed fuel for those plants as the quake knocked out a fifth of the country's refining capacity. Well, analysts at Allianz Bernstein say that the biggest beneficiaries will be the world's suppliers of liquid natural gas, LNG. Well, let's ask our next guest what all of this means for global energy prices. Tony Regan, energy consultant at TriZen International, joins us live now from Singapore. Thank you so much for joining us. I wanted, first of all, to ask you about this LNG, this natural gas. We were speaking to the CEO of Shell just 2 days ago, and he was saying that he's had to increase, of course, what it's selling to Japan. Are we going to have a complete new way of how Japan actually funds itself in terms of energy?
No, I think we need to get it in perspective. There's a lot of focus on LNG demand, but LNG is just one of the fuels that's going into power generation. In addition to that, of course, there'll be coal, fuel oil, and they even burn some crude. When I've sort of looked at some of the figures, our own assessments, it suggests, well, they might need another 5 to 6, 7 million tonnes of LNG this year. Well, they took 7 million tonnes extra last year. Korea, the UK, took 7 million tonnes extra last year. So to put it into perspective, the additional volume is not that great on a global scale. It's significant because the market is tightening. There's very strong growth in LNG demand. But I'm expecting about 17 million tonnes of new LNG capacity to be available on the market this year.
But
so
Tony,
an additional
how difficult is it going to be for? How difficult is it actually going to be for Japan to, start getting more gas or more oil onto it? We were speaking to some people on the ground, and they were saying it's actually very difficult to find a petrol station that is open, and so people can't really move around the country unless they take trains.
Oh yes, that is the immediate problem, which also highlights that actually demand may be down in the short term. For instance, coal vessels can't get into some of the coaling ports at the moment because of the earthquake. So yes, there are certainly short-term problems, but one of the issues is, could demand actually be falling in Japan? So much industry and power has been taken offline. I think it will recover, if nothing else, because of the recovery effort, and particularly areas such as steel, even if power demand remains subdued. Can you physically import? There is a constraint on coal at the moment. The LNG terminals seem okay. A lot of the oil can be drawn, first of all, from domestic supplies. If you took significantly more oil, gas, coal, it would have an impact on the market. But the fact is that they can go to each of those sectors, and it has a fairly modest effect overall.
Tony, talk to me about the price of oil in general. It's now currently at around $98. We're seeing so much unrest still in the Middle East, and also this emergency lockdown in Bahrain. Are we going to see a lot more volatility for the price of oil?
Yes, and of particular concern, I think, is what is going on in Bahrain. The loss of Libyan oil was not that significant. A relatively small percentage can be relatively easily made up. The big concern is whether problems in Bahrain spill over to other countries in the Middle East, the source of most of the crude oil, particularly for Asia. And the biggest concern, of course, is it's spilling over into Saudi Arabia. And if there was supply disruption from there, that would have a very significant impact on prices, because there really is no alternative. It's Saudi Arabia has the spare capacity. It's Saudi Arabia that's supplying a lot of the oil that Libya is not at the moment.
All right.
And so, yeah, there's particular concern if things get worse in the Middle East.
Yeah, we'll have to keep a very close eye. Tony Regan, thank you.